Okay, and welcome back to the basement grow. Was away for a couple weeks due to some family events, but we're back now, and a quick review of how things have been going. Obviously, you can tell the shelves are much fuller, much more dense. They've grown like crazy. So up top here, we have all of our parsley and cilantro. They're as thick as a bush. They're growing above the lights now, so I'm gonna have to come through and do quite heavy trimming through all the cilantro and parsley. The cucumbers are growing like crazy. I missed the opportunity to pollinate the female flowers using the male pollen because the male flowers come first. I did go along with a paintbrush and painted inside some of the male flowers and tried to pollinate a few of the female flowers. We'll see if that was effective. We'll see if we get any fruit from this. These cucumbers were strictly an experiment. I'm going to be replanting cucumbers. I didn't expect to get anything out of these. I just wanted to see how growing them was going to go. On the second shelf, the garlic chives have been growing like crazy. They're growing much taller and actually getting quite dense as well. This set back here, I cut back just the other day to put on my dinner, and they were delicious. They have a very strong garlic flavor. So these are really nice. I'm excited to actually put these out in the garden where they'll start to grow much larger when they have much more soil than just this to grow in. So really excited about these. The rosemary is actually taking off quite well. So I know that I can grow rosemary. I just need to actually get the darn things to germinate. So the next time I do a large germination of herbs, I'm gonna plant a lot more rosemary and see if I can change the growing conditions to get a lot more, because this just smells amazing. The thyme, if you check out the it's time to trim the herbs video, where I trimmed, basically I have doubled the amount of thyme that we have now, and this is just an absolute crazy dense bush. It's gone absolutely crazy, so I'm gonna have to go and trim yet again the thyme. Maybe I'll try and dry it, maybe I'll turn it into a sauce, I'm not sure, but the thyme has absolutely exploded. And then our sweet basil, the sweet basil is doing quite well. There are quite a few sets where I had trimmed the main sort of leader stem, and now we're getting pretty decent growth out of the side stems here. Here's another example here where instead of one main leader stem, we now have two smaller, which are starting to grow even more leaves, so that's going really good. These things are growing quite quickly. So I've done that on several of the basil plants, also to just help shorten them, because they were starting to grow up into the lights. So I feel like they're getting a much better light catch on the bottom here. So the basil is going really well. Obviously we've had one little failed pot here, but I think it dried out while we were away. No big deal there. The potted dill, you can check out that video as well, where I transplanted a whole bunch of dill into these larger pots. It's been going okay, not amazing, but it is still getting quite a bit of horizontal light from the shelf. You can see this one where I had planted some of the larger dill plants. This one's actually going to the third shelf already, this main dill plant. It's got quite a thick stalk. It's growing fairly good. I am seeing new growth on these dill plants. It's definitely not growing as good as if I were to have a light directly above, but I am still able to use this space. So I don't think it's a failed experiment, but we did do some learning here that this isn't the way to grow it, but it's definitely a way to grow it. So that's been going okay. As for the dill on the bottom, that's been going really good. It's still quite bushy down here. It hasn't gone quite as leggy because I have been trimming this a little bit more frequently. So I think dill, you really need to be careful and to trim it more frequently rather than just let one stem grow straight up. You need to keep clipping it and force more of the lower stems to grow out and get more growth on them. So the dill has been going really good. One of my most exciting points of news here is that the bell peppers that I planted from seed from the grocery store, just from an orange bell pepper that I got at the grocery store, I'm actually getting quite a bit of fruit, or I guess vegetable, from these pepper plants. This one I have like 3 or 4 peppers that may come. Even in the pots where I have 2 plants in the same pot, I'm still getting quite a few bulbs. So you can see the bulbs right down in there and right there. I'm still getting quite a bit. So I'm very interested to see how many peppers we'll be able to get from these pepper plants. So yeah, that's been really exciting. The really great thing about pepper plants is that they're self-germinating. You don't need any cross-pollination between plants for them to be able to put on some fruit and to be able to actually produce for you. So peppers are actually one of the really great vegetables that you can grow in your basement without, you know, having insects and whatnot required for pollination and not needing to get a little paintbrush to cross-pollinate all your plants. So peppers might be a plant that moving forward, maybe this coming fall or winter, that I might try and grow for myself in my basement using this shelf. And the last thing to mention is the seed starts for tomatoes, green peppers, green onions, and kale have started to grow like crazy. You can see this seed tray is just an absolute dense tray of bush. I have 3 different kinds of tomatoes on here. I have a Roma tomato, a yellow pear tomato, and then a sweet 100 tomato, so that's all very exciting. I do have full germination, so 12 of each plant growing right now. I don't know where I'm gonna put all these, but we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll give some away to neighbors, but these need to get transplanted up very soon. You can see just how much growth they have. They have multiple true leaves on all of these tomato plants, so I'm very much looking forward to transplanting these. I'm not going to put multiple tomato plants per pot. I don't want to hamper their growth at all, although I may try just to see. I do have so many, so it might be worth an experiment to see how that goes. And then also to note, we went to the farmer's market and bought some very unique tomatoes. These were planted like 2 weeks after these tomatoes, so don't be surprised that they're so small. This is called a muddy water tomato. It's like a kind of like a green brownish tomato, and the flesh inside is very unique, so I'm very excited for these to start coming up here. A few of them were just a little bit droopy because they were missed on the watering while we were away, but they do seem to be coming back nicely. I think I'll get at least 10 plants out of these, which is great. And then we have some hot peppers just right in the middle that are germinating, and then 2 new kinds of basil. I have been enjoying the sweet basil that we have, but I did want to try some new stuff. So we have lemon basil, and then we have Thai basil. So I just did 6 of those just to see how that goes, see if we can get any different varieties of basil going in the basement here. Variety is the spice of life, so why not? Well, thanks for joining me on this review of the basement grow. As I've said, things have absolutely exploded. I'm gonna have to go and do a very heavy trim of all these herbs. Please join me in the next video where I do go and trim all these and show you the absolute abundance that we have just from a simple 1 grow rack in the basement. Speaking of just 1 grow rack, I did purchase another one. I couldn't help myself. It was so cheap. It was only $130 for a giant shelf, and I already have spare lights for this thing, so I went and got another shelf. So I'm going to be setting this one up as well to help house all the new tomatoes and different starts that we're going to have coming up, which are going to be stuff like different kinds of squash, zucchini, and that kind of stuff that's 4 to 6 weeks before the last frost period. So this is going to get built very soon. All right, well, thanks for watching, everybody, and remember, keep growing.